Tempus here, hello and welcome to another video. So we're getting this really sweet new feature called the Proving Grounds, which is designed to train players to tank or DPS or heal. But is it any good? This is just PTR, so some changes will probably be made, but let's take an in-depth look at it anyway. So you have a soul well, a repair vendor, and a reforger inside the instance. Good thinking, Blizz. Really good thinking. Especially seeing as with the gear scaling down to 463, you will probably need to have a reforger handy. Though, while we're talking about gear scaling, I would point out that some of the gear scales really badly. So much so that being an all blue gear seems to work out better for the most part, as set bonus gear had lower stats than non-set bonus gear. This is fine, I'm totally okay with that, and it's the way it should be, so that the gear is on par. However, I found that it reduced the proc chance on the set bonuses to the point where they may as well not be there, which means that the blue gear worked out to be better. And, of course, we can also use personal flasks and food, which is great, but where are the potions, Blizz? Now, at first, I don't really object to not being able to use potions, seeing as they are so expensive, but then I think about the way you handled it with Brawler's Guild and the potions there, and I want the same thing for Proving Grounds with tank and healing potions as well, obviously. A thing to think about is simply that if you're training players for raids, shouldn't they get used to using potions? What about buffs too? Sure, you've put all the buffs on the NPCs, which is good thinking again, but why not put all the buffs on us as well? Let's make it even more like a raid scenario, seeing as in a raid you will probably be buffed with all of the buffs. The bug with the party not showing up in party frames and such is really annoying, but I'm sure it'll be fixed for live. Well, I hope it'll be fixed for live. Here comes the major complaint for DPS though. Are you ready? I found that in order to do this, I had to spread my DPS cooldowns across several waves. This isn't teaching people how to DPS correctly, is it? After all, it's better to use DPS cooldowns in combination to get the maximum effect. Now, I'm not entirely sure about how to work a solution to it, but what I'm thinking is, if a player finishes one phase early, that extra time can be added onto the next wave. That player can do more DPS in one phase by combining cooldowns and have the positive effects carry them forward. You might say then that the players would use the cooldowns on waves where they could use them to do insane damage, probably through the use of AoE, and then have that carry them through the single target phases. My response would be, well, isn't using your DPS cooldowns at the most opportune time another DPS lesson? Those are my issues with DPS, really. Other than that, I thought it was really well done, so good job, Blizz. Next, we move on to Healer. I liked it. Not being able to use mana potions is a bit silly though, but even so, it teaches healers to dispel and to use cooldowns to max effect. Even if you can't complete the gold challenge, it should be really good training, which is actually kind of the point, isn't it? I would say that the NPC dialogue gets really irritating really fast. It's kind of nice that it's there, but maybe only scream it solely every 20th time he stands in the fire or something. Then we have tanking. Do I like the tanking challenge? Yes. Do I think it will help new tanks? Yes. However, like a lot of the challenges, some classes are going to have a much harder time than others. That isn't really fair. But even with that, I really liked it. A possible solution to this might be to be able to mark for CC and mark a kill order, so that while no marks are up, your healer friend just DPSs like normal, but you can mark Skull to make her focus on one in particular, and perhaps be able to mark one for CC as well. Or what about just making the passive heal higher for certain classes of tank? A separate challenge that teaches tanks to alternate tanking a boss, so basically a taunt on many stacks type of fight, just so that tanks can get used to having to tank swap might be a good idea. And what about difficulty? Now this is probably one of the hardest things I have ever done in WoW. I have never had to heal a fight that hard, and I have never had to tank a fight that was so difficult to survive. And I like the fact that it pushed me. I really do. I also like the fact that it's only the last few waves that are so strenuous. I think it's great because the phases before help players new to a spec learn it, and the last few waves help to really push the players. The early phases can get really boring though when you keep wiping on the final wave. Another thing to think about is If it was made too easy, it would actually be a massive waste of time. If it didn't push you, how could you learn anything? How can you grow as a player if you breeze through it? Obviously, I'm more thinking about, the newer players rather than the super professional player, because if you're a professional player, you shouldn't have very much left to learn, so the difficulty shouldn't really be adjusted for you. I will again stress the point that it is way too hard for certain classes, and those particular classes need to be adjusted or have the fight adjusted for them, but on the classes that aren't at a massive disadvantage, it's about right. All in all, I enjoyed the Proving Grounds, and I think that people will be able to get a major benefit out of it. The main reason I think it will improve players is because who are you going to blame? You have nobody to call noob or to blame for a wipe but you. Sure, the NPCs with you tend to make mistakes that others players make, but it's just part of the challenge. The thing that makes it best is that the only major variable is you, the player. There are no other players, just you and the machine. The machine performs the same way basically all the time, so that leaves you and what you do as a determining factor of success or failure. However, having it be so much harder for certain classes is silly, and players should not be punished for playing a certain class. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and it gives you a little bit of things to talk about when it comes to the Proving Grounds. It was really fun to make. I got really excited about it. You can probably tell because it was one of the videos where I was a little bit, a little bit over the top perhaps. My voice is dying. Thanks for watching. I shall see you in future videos. Subscribe, like, comment, favorite, and have fun. Cheerio!